everybody? My name is Malik Forte, and if you're wondering why I've cleaned up so nicely, that's because it is Championship Sunday. The Stage 3 playoffs are about to go down. Today, we got the flawless Boston Uprising. We got the returning Stage 2 champions, the NYXL, and both LA teams, the Gladiators and the Valiant, all doing battle for their fair share of $125,000. That's some serious cash money. Now, Stage 3 has been crazy from start to finish. Lots of surprises. We got a new map pool. We got to see Blizzard World on the pro stage for the first time. New lineups, a plethora of matches that went into overtime. Guys, it's been crazy. So for those of you who are just now tuning in to the action, here's a look that down the road that got us here to the Stage 3 playoffs.
We are live in Los Angeles, and we are officially in the second half of the Overwatch League.
I am excited. The teams are revamped. Should be good.
A lot of hype around Gaguri. She's playing on the main stage for the first time.
Oh, Cakery gets two. That is it. Houston Outlaws take down the London Spitfire. And the shock. You better believe it. Get around them. That's going to be Boston. They will defeat the New York Excelsior. There it is. It's done. The Valiant take it to the Maximus.
Oh, it is mad rowdy in here today, man. These guys are getting loud.
It's pine time. Oh, my no. The pine time is real. Nice stick onto Pine. Saya player making his presence felt here.
There we go. Beautiful headshot from Architect. Big plays from the stage. It's going to be a real slaughter show. Bonnie with an enormous pulse bomb. Are you kidding me?
Here we are in the final week of Stage 3. You know what that means? It is Stage 3 playoff time.
And New York continue to cement their spot as the top team in the world.
The Valiant are looking like one of the best teams in the league.
Boston unbeaten through the stage, looking flawless.
Gladiators could be in a great position for their first playoff spot.
The time has come. Which team will you be facing off against first tomorrow?
We wanted to pick an easy opponent, picking LA Gladiators.
Anything you want to say to that?
I'll see you tomorrow.
This is what we've all been waiting 5 weeks for. Get it going, LA! It's Championship Sunday! Welcome back to the Blizzard Arena. Today, we crown our Stage 3 champion in the Overwatch League. I'm your host, Chris Puckett. I'm joined at the desk by two of the best from Britain. We've got Josh, we've got Brennan, a.k.a. Sideshow, and the great Bren. How you doing today?
I'm feeling fresh. I'm excited, mate. These matches are going to be so good. We've got both LA teams. We've got two of the arguably best teams in the league as well playing it out. It's going to be mad.
And Josh, when we look at today's schedule, today the format's a little bit weird. Walk us through how the playoffs work.
Yeah, so unlike the three-team playoff that we've had previously, it is Boston Uprising as your first seed. They picked the LA Gladiators in the semi-final. Up next, we've got the NYXL against LA Valiant, and the winner of both of those semi-finals will be doing battle for $100,000 at 5 p.m.
And remember, guys, today it's all about the best of 5. So the first team to get 3 map wins is moving on to that final. Are you guys ready to start the action today? Let's get it going right now. We got the Gladiators looking for revenge against the Boston Uprising. If you watched the earlier match, it was 3-1. It was in favor of Boston. They locked up the perfect 10-0 record here in Stage 3. This is a big matchup. Gladiators, can they get the job done today?
Well, in that previous match, it was Fisher and Bishu, the tank line from the LA Gladiators, that were focused down in that match. Normally such a great asset for the team. Fisher, such a phenomenal pickup, but they just got picked apart by the Boston Uprising. Striker was on an absolute tear, and Fisher really seemed to be a focal point for the Boston Uprising. They took the star player of the Gladiators, and they shredded him any time that they could. So as they went deeper and deeper into it, it ended up being more and more comfortable for the Boston Uprising. They were able to put LA Gladiators away, and they defeated them 3-1 only 2 days ago. So you got to feel like Boston are going to be confident coming in.
Just 2 days ago, and Boston was confident. You heard the president, Mr. Huck, talking a little bit of trash during the pick. He said, you know what? Let's get it right. We don't have a warm-up tomorrow, so we decided that we were going to pick an easy opponent. We're picking the LA Gladiators. Gotta love the boos here in the audience. We got Boston, we got LA, and this is some bad blood today.
That's banter, Packet. I don't care what anybody says, mate. That is absolute banter. And it's spicy as well, because Gladiators, they're not going to sit down and take this loss from the other day. They are out for revenge. Fisher's been putting out tweets. They're saying they do not want to let this go in the slightest. So, you know, I'm actually a little bit confident for Gladiators here that they can potentially turn this in their favor.
Gotta look out for that striker guy. He was a big problem last matchup. Josh, walk us through the maps as we take a look. Remember, it's 5 maps here in the set. You only need 3 wins. How do the teams match up?
So this is a really interesting one. Boston Uprising have pretty much got the edge all around, but you know, when they start out on Junkertown, that's a map that can sometimes have strange results. Ilios, though, Boston Uprising, so good on that map in particular. The later it goes in the series, however, the more that Gladiators are going to have a chance. Blizzard World, a very good map for them, and Route 66 has historically been poor for either team, so it's really just whoever steps up on the day. So Gladiators have got to endure at the beginning of the series and then come back hard at the end, I think.
I like it.
A big part of that as well is, I'm glad you mentioned the maps, but in particular, I'm looking at the Widowmaker matchup. Surefour versus Mistakes in particular, because all of these maps, they favor the Widowmaker gameplay a lot. I actually feel like this is going to be giving Gladiators an edge in this match, because I would consider Surefour to be one of the better Widowmaker versus Widowmaker sort of duelists in the league right now. And when he's up against Mistakes, Mistakes has been looking, I mean, I'm just going to go out and say it, he's been looking average in a lot of these duels.
Average?
He was great in this matchup, though, Brent. I think he really
I'm not
took
going
it
to take that away
Surefour.
from him. Mistakes definitely stepped it up in this match for sure. But across the board, he has been looking like one of the more lackluster players on Boston. The rest of his team is definitely looking like they are propping him up a little bit. So I would say in this matchup, Surefour has the edge. You can see in the statistics as well. He's definitely a way ahead in terms of hero damage, eliminations, and he dies a lot less as well. But the Widowmaker duel ratio is really the statistic that I want everyone to look at, because Surefour really excels in those 1v1s. And all of these maps we're seeing today are Widowmaker maps.
We
So
start
that
on
is gonna give them an
Junkertown.
edge.
You're guaranteed to see some widows on that first point. Guys, let's make it official. Are you guys ready to get into the matches? Let's get the predictions. Josh, starting with you. Who moves on to the final? Is it Boston or is it LA?
Boston are on a 14-match win streak. They're undefeated for the last 2 months. They just beat the LA Gladiators 3-1. It's impossible to predict against them. They're going to turn this crowd into a library. They're going to be so quiet in here because it's going to be the Boston Uprising moving on to the final.
Boston Uprising silences the crowd. Bren, what is that you got there? Where are you going today?
You know, as the reigning champ when it comes to predictions right now, the Oracle, as I'm known in wider gaming communities, I gotta say that I am feeling the home crowd right now. I feel like they're gonna be getting the edge. Gladiators are gonna be taking this one for reasons I've already detailed. They're winning the Widow matchup. Yes, the maps aren't in their favor, but I still feel like they're gonna be able to take it.
Going with the belt that you don't deserve in the Gladiators pick today. I like where Bren's head's at. Are you guys ready to meet our teams? Let's bring out the first squad of the day. It's your hometown heroes, the Los Angeles Gladiators. Surefour leading the charge. Fisher right behind him. 2 names you're going to hear over and over again here on the first map.
Absolutely, and these guys are incredible. Shaz in particular is one name that I do want to point out, because in recent times, Shaz has been stepping up tremendously. Now, I was always a big fan of his back in the European Contenders days, and he had a bit of an average showing at the start of the league, but now he has been turning up. He's been a key component to them getting a lot of these wins that they've had in Stage 3 so far.
The backline does play quite defensive from the LA Gladiators, though. I think that could end up being a bit of a weakness for them. Fisher, always such a mainstay for this team, is going to be the guy trying to lead them to victory. As I pointed out, didn't work so well for them on Friday. See if he can step up. It's hydration that I want to point to, though, because in the previous match, they were running Asher a lot. The map pool now, though, very different. They're going to be running a lot more Surefour and hydration. That gives them the Genji. They can play more aggressive.
I love the Big Goose chant here in the venue, and so much love for Shaz. How can you not love what this guy does on the Zenyatta? Gladiators, they fell short of the Stage 2 playoffs. They didn't make it into Stage 1. It's their first playoff, and they're going up against a great one. Will they get revenge? It's time to find out as we bring out their opponent. Please give it up for the #1 seed in Stage 3. It's the Boston Uprising. This Uprising squad enters the match on a ridiculous 14-match win streak. They have been perfect so far in Stage 3. And if you look where they started, it's amazing to reflect on the evolution.
It really is. They are the dark horses of the league, the underdog story incarnate. Boston Uprising, you would have never expected them to be in this position. I thought, honestly, that Note would be riding the bench the whole time. I didn't even know who this guy was when he came into the team. There's an off-tank player on some kind of okay teams in North America. He has become the best aggressive diva in the league by far, in my opinion, and has an opportunity to cement his place, along with the rest of the team, as being some of the best players and the best team in the world. Striker, a complete unknown coming into the league, played on a kind of lower level team in Korea. Now we're talking about him as the best tracer in the world. Unbelievable from Boston.
That's a point I'm not going to argue on, and what you really can't argue when it comes to Boston is the amount of results that they've accrued over the course of this stage and the previous one. They're on a 14-map win streak right now. Absolutely incredible stuff from Boston. And again, just to reiterate what you were saying going into this bucket, these guys, nobody was expecting them to be up until this point at the start of the season. Everyone was discrediting this team, but they have completely turned it around, and they're looking magnificent.
Number one team in the stage, the squad to beat right now, and they are ready to take this stage. Let's get it going, guys, as we send it over to the greatest duo since Harry and Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. It's the Uber X.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this one. What a cracker. It's going to be Boston Uprising, an unmatched feat thus far, a perfect stage outside of the playoffs. And the LA Gladiators, who've always been in the mix, man. They're a plucky bunch. They like to play loose. They like to, have a bit of sarcasm, a bit of fun about their games. But now it's all serious.
Yeah, they're having a good time. I saw actually, the admin of the server, one of the observers, congratulated both teams of being in the semifinals. Hydration congratulated the observers for also being here in the semifinals. But I will say, I know when we casted Shanghai Dallas Fuel earlier in the season, the desk all picked Shanghai.
I remember it well.
An effect was here to my left, and he had this look on his face that he was just going to go out and murder everybody. When Bren picked the Gladiators, I turned around and I looked at Striker, and he had this grin on that only reminded me of that moment that what we saw from Effect.
Very impish as well. It was out to prove him wrong.
So if the Gladiators lose this because Striker goes ham, you know who to blame. It's Bren over there on the desk.
I'm pretty sure he just made up that title of top prediction. I'm certain that's not true.
Well, I mean, I'm number one on the watch point prediction. So
that is true.
Clearly, that's my belt. That's just big.
You choose one. Pander to the crowd every day, or be top in predictions.
Can't do both.
That's right.
Can't do both.
However, that being said, the Gladiators have never beaten the Boston Uprising in a series. Now, this is a best of 5 series, I want to bear in mind. So it's not a 4-map series. It could be over after 3. But the Gladiators now, they're out for something to prove. Boston picked them saying that they didn't have a warm-up. They wanted an easy game. But this may be far from that, Matt. We've got, a series that features a lot of Widowmaker-heavy maps, which has definitely been an area where Surefire has been a standout, and Mistakes has been middle of the pack.
Yeah, and you see the Gladiators on offense. We get ready to kick this off. Chaz will be playing Bastion. This is a strategy that's pretty outdated, Mitch, but they've been going with this constantly on the offensive side. Boston has to know this. You see they're playing quite close. Now they're going to move back to the choke. If this does not work out, they're going to have to switch off of it. That's a huge pick, though, for Surefire. Could not get a better kill there.
There's no better option for your Widowmaker to be picking off. There's no resurrect opportunity, which means Boston now actually just have to give ground back.
And the bad part about this is that they're going to be able to move the payload to a point where it's going to be very hard to play around this corner, defend against that Bastion.
Surefire now, free to sort of peek out wide on this side. Trying to keep tabs on Mistakes. He spotted him off in the distance. Mistakes playing very far back into the complex itself. And Surefire now as well, getting his, theoretical ghillie suit on, hiding behind the shrubbery. And the Gladiators are making some progress, but now the Orisa shields are coming head-to-head. Hydration may have overextended slightly. No, we got the healing from Big Goose, who's sitting in the back. And Shaz is just putting out a lot of damage right now. Forced out into recon mode for the time being. But again, he can set up in a moment, and he does. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of damage now. No, trying to face down the beast that is Shaz. Not much he can do about that. Shaz able to repair himself as, the poke damage comes in, and the Gladiators are all straight through.
And that first push is set up by Surefire. When he's able to pick up Kellex, that forces Boston back into a position where you can't really defend against this Bastion. If Bastion gets set up on the payload, it's very difficult to get him off. So now looks like they're going to move up towards the high ground here. They're going to put the Bastion right behind the Orisa barrier. Just going to try and work down this barrier from Gamsu. So you do have Valkyrie here for Boston, right? A lot of healing provided by that Mercy ultimate, and you have a Riptire, so you have some ultimates you can use here. There'll be a self-destruct sent in. And that's going to be 3 there for Bishu.
Unbelievable! 3 massive kills from Bishu, getting rid of Kellex as well. The Mercy once again a non-factor in this fight, and the Gladiators can keep rolling on. The tire gets picked off. Striker can't make the difference now, and Shaz, Matt, very close to that tank configuration, so if the fighting gets up close and personal, it's going to be dangerous for Boston to challenge. Look at this placement here, the hold as well to make sure both main tanks are caught in the blast. Rough.
The halt there from Fisher is the key, right? Not allowing those tanks to get out as Gamsu will come out. They'll try and challenge us. They're going to use Valkyrie Boston here as well. The damage boost just being put onto Shaz. This will be the tank mode.
That's it. Button hatches, ladies and gentlemen. Shaz now going for the long-range fusillade. Again, a lot of shields to break through. Mistakes has found a couple of picks on the periphery here, but it's not enough to stop the Gladiators. They're on a mission today, man.
This is such a difficult comp to stop. You know, we saw a lot of teams struggle at the beginning when Junkertown came into the map pool, stopping this exact composition. So Boston will have to change things up. They're going to have Echo play Zen here. Move off of Roadhog. The Roadhog just a battery charge at that point going into that Bastion. And Gamsu will use the supercharger here, trying to give Mistakes a little bit of a damage boost in the sky, but Gamsu falls, same with the supercharger.
It's too dangerous to resurrect Gamsu right now, given his positioning. He's out of the open, and to drop and try and bring him back would be certain death for Kellex. Fisher gonna break through Striker. And now that supercharger having expired, it's definitely done its job. It's allowed them to find that crucial pick. Kellex hasn't had the room, Matt, to bring players back into the fray. He's been dying first in a lot of these fights as well. It's a tough life. School of hard knocks for Mercy's out here on Junkertown. Big Goose feeling the same.
It's a huge pick there from Neko. One that maybe saves the Boston Uprising from having a horrendous defense here. You know, that pick on the Big Goose will force the Gladiators back to spawn. It'll also force them off of this Bastion. So now it'll just be triple tank with Short4 playing Widow, but then you look back, if Boston's able to hold on defense, that pick may be the one that does it for him.
That high ground vantage point for Neko, paying dividends. You can see he gets 2 kills there, Short4 being the latter. And now, of course, Shaz will have to submit, switch back over towards this Zenyatta. Short4 has it in for sight here. Boston should be aware that Short4 and Co can see through these walls. So they'll be keeping themselves, or making themselves very scarce for the time being. But Gamsu's down already. Main tank missing in action for the Boston Uprising. Striker trying to even the scale a little bit with that Riptire, but it doesn't connect once again. Shut down by Short4.
Note will have a self-destruct here to buy some time, but the Neko using Transcendence. That's actually forced out there by Bishu. It'll be Big Goose. He uses his Valkyrie, another big self-destruct sent in from Bishu. It'll connect with Neko.
That's it, cuts out the back now, and Hydration with the whole hog. He's a little bit vulnerable when using that ability. He can't take a breather. Striker gets pulled into his demise, though. Short4 picks off Gamsu out the back. Now Hydration has to stand his ground, but he doesn't have the cooldown on take a breather. He needs to be careful. No, charges him down. Knows he has the burst damage to win out of that engagement, and now he'll be desuited. Keep an eye on Kellex in that left corner here. Bishu's going to chase after him. The Mercy now, endangered species. But Shaz has been picked off by Neko. Half of the healing now for the Gladiators has been reduced. Mistakes, at least gets that desuit. Fisher's in trouble. He's going to go down again. Stoically, the Boston Uprising defend this final point.
Yeah, Gamsu with 6 deaths thus far. You know, very difficult, obviously, playing that Orisa up against that Bastion comp, right? Being the one with the shield. Then also goes over to Winston to play when Hydration is playing Roadhog. So you usually don't want to run that Winston into Roadhog. Roadhog's very good at taking him out. But they're able to stabilize on defense. Hydration switch over to Sombra for a second. Thought he may get back to the point. Thought it was a fight they could have extended, but not able to do so as the Mistakes. We talked about this Widowmaker matchup, Mitch. I know he's playing really well here in the first half. 61% scoped accuracy, 15% crit. He's got 4 final blows. Currently leads the Uprising, so he was the one you had a lot of questions coming into this match about for Boston, but he's playing quite well.
Well, again, it's less about his impact overall and more whether he could handle Short4. See, Kellex surely can't. Massive pick off for Short4, and that's a lot of healing taken away. Kellex was close to Falcon. Mistakes. He's leveling the score here. Finds a pick on Hydration. It's a big health pool removed from the fight when the Roadhog goes down. Not only 500 health, but the take a breather also gives him solid 300 effective health on top. Boston looking strong now. They really have recovered, Matt. They've been here for about 3.5 minutes.
You start to see what happens when Boston can play the game they want to play, when they can get off the Orisa and the Junkrat, your triple tank setup, and they can go back to what's gotten them here with Striker on Tracer, Gamsu on Winston. The Gladiators have not had an answer for this. Kellex with Valkyrie, same with Big Goose. You need to see Kellex stay alive. He cannot fall again early in one of these fights.
A little bit of a hush over the crowd now. The Gladiators are stalling out somewhat. Self-destruct by Note there. He knows he would have lost his mech anyway. This could be nasty and over the top. Oh, Note actually got caught by that. He didn't have a chance to re-mech. That's a Diva now, taken off the field. Kellex does use that Valkyrie to try and come in, and Striker doesn't hit the mark with that pulse bomb. He needs to be careful. One hook could be the end of him right now, and he's trying to dash around the payload. Keep it contested until their Diva can return. Mistakes has found Shaz in the background. An important way to try and slow the Gladiators down. Now they're missing the healing, and most importantly, Matt, the Gladiators are missing that Transcendence ultimate. They really want that in this fight. That's why Big Goose has brought him back. But in the meantime, Striker's found Shore4. Hydration now for the whole hog. It's time to get that Transcendence in over this fight. Striker's still doing a lot of work, getting rid of that Diva mech. But Hydration's found Gamsu. He was hiding in the corner. Not much he could do.
Yeah, but they haven't killed Striker, though. He's still on the payload. He's going to land a pulse bomb there onto Fisher and take out Shaz. As you know, you think you have Boston dead. If you do not deal with Striker, you are never going to beat this team. As they just let him linger on the payload for a little bit too long.
Yeah, left to his own devices. He was able to unravel the Gladiators from behind, or from the sides, as it were. Time's going to be up here, and the Boston Uprising will hold solid before the end of the map. Slowing the tempo down, getting picks with mistakes, removing supports before the fight could start. And then once push came to shove, Striker was in there like swimwear.
And they had over 4 minutes on the clock to be able to complete that push. We can take a look at Striker here towards the end of the map, but you allow Neko to get that Transcendence, you don't put enough pressure on him. Striker comes in with a pulse bomb, a little bit of a 360 there. Then he finds Shaz right away, and you see how fast he's able to deal with that Zen. He's so good. It's incredible. Like, game in and game out. Like, it seems like sometimes we're like, oh yeah, Striker has an off game, and I look at the stats and he's got like 30 elims and 19 final blows, and it's like, that is the caliber of a rough game for him, as far as I can see.
I mean, it's been over a month or more since Boston actually lost a series.
Yeah.
And even in those losses, Striker was still, you know, boasting impressive score lines. You can see how the Transcendence that was used at the time in that clip, you obviously notice the effect on the ground, billowing forth, was when the Boston get to really go for an uptick in tempo, right? Get aggressive. They know that they're trying to slow down the pace and control the Gladiators until that ability is used, and then they know they have a much more robust health pool. They've got that healing over time, and they can go for the throat.
And I think the Gladiators wasted a really good attack there, as they, Kellex is the only support for a very long time for Boston. They're able to get him in a lot of these fights early. You see Hydration hiding a trap there on the payload, very difficult to see. It's a good spot for it, or you put it like in front of the payload, so when the payload goes over the trap, the Bastion doesn't see it.
You can't, yeah, exactly. You can't see it. So if you sort of walk behind the payload, like a Bastion often does, you won't jump on it to start with, because you need to break line of sight from Widowmakers that are on the defending side. You can get snarled up in that one, and it will be a very quick end to you. Bastion has a larger health pool than most DPS.
I wonder if they do play Bastion here on offense, because Boston primarily has had Neko play Roadhog here on offense, but looks like they're going to come out and try and give Boston a little bit of their, give LA a little bit of their own medicine.
Yeah, the pirate ship, Matt, has left its moorings. Gamsu refreshing the shield. That's going to be very crucial to keep Neko in the game, but mistakes finding Shore4. What a great way to open things up. It's not a mercy pick, so Big Goose can replenish the lost player, but mistakes will just try and do it again.
Yeah, but there's no resurrection to about 3 minutes and 30 on the clock, so you can play around that. Know that if you pick up somebody from here until then, that person is effectively gone until the respawn. Striker on a flank takes out Hydration. That's huge. That's a lot of the damage from the Gladiators.
That one there, tough to res. Big Goose has to go inside the building. It's a risky spot. Neko cuts Shaz down. Shore4 finally getting a kill for the Gladiators here on this defense, but they're being overrun. Big Goose now can't do anything. He is just blown to smithereens by Striker. The standard combination of grenade and remote mine will be more than enough to consume the Mercy's health pool, and the Boston Uprising, this is blistering pace as well from them. All they've got to do is finish the map to take map 1.
And Mistakes has played Widowmaker throughout this entire game thus far. I mean, just looking at his damage compared to Shore4, who's also been playing, I know Mistakes is 33% of the team damage on the Boston Uprising right now.
Massive.
10,900 compared to Shore4's 5,500 damage. So
for a Widow, I mean, that's
for a Widow, that's a ton of damage.
A Widow playing into compositions that feature shields often as well. That's that's crazy to me, really. Mistakes stepping up in a big way. We often wondered if he'd be the player that Boston needed, to be going on with and have a strong end of the season. And he has definitely proven his detractors wrong.
And you're going to put down a lot of that damage if you're shooting about 60%.
60% scope accuracy. I mean, in all fairness, those Sure4 is hitting close to that.
Yeah, I mean, Sure4 is there as well. With so many tanks in the game, it's a lot easier, obviously, to connect with those shots.
And obviously there wasn't Roadhog sort of present for the Gladiators there, which is very easy just to pound shot after shot into. Still, 5k extra damage or double the damage on the Widowmaker is still significant.
And Neko will switch off of Bastion, will go Roadhog. And it'll be Striker uses the Riptire. He hasn't really gotten much with his Riptires. Let's see if he can actually make this one worth it. Goes way over the top, gets Big Goose really weak.
Oh,
Neko trying to come on the flank.
Great cover by Bishu. They're keeping his Mercy alive, quickly using that defense matrix to stymie Neko's attempts at finding the kill and capitalizing on the chunk that had been bitten out of Big Goose. But now the Boston Uprising keep moving forward. This is what a Roadhog will do for you. He hits the hook. And this is how you keep the momentum billowing out of control. Get a Roadhog in there. Get that man advantage. You know, make it a 6v5, and then all of a sudden it's a 6v4, and so on.
So it looks like Boston will be able to take point B here. No, not much that the Gladiators can do. Not going to come out, try and make a play for it. See the mine connects with both players as nasty. I think obviously the Boston Uprising doing very well on offense thus far. I think you're a Gladiators fan. The worst thing to see here in this first map is mistakes in this Widow battle, because your cleanest win condition in this matchup was probably Sure4 dominating the Widowmaker battle.
Well, that was where you felt you had a statistical advantage, right?
Yeah, I mean, you do, right? I mean, if you look at the numbers, you do, but...
Not today, Captain. Neko taking a battering from the high ground, and that's because Hydration is set up there on that Junkrat, punishing, you know, a composition on the attack that makes him bunch up. That's 2 for Note. Hydration and Shaz are down, and also Fish is trying to drop the supercharger for extra damage. Note gets another one. Big Goose is down, and Note is out of control. He also gets the D-suit on Bishu, by the way. That's incredible. 3 kills, a D-suit, and a supercharger removal. Boston will not be stopped.
And this Riptire is going to be huge from Striker, because you're going to have that Transcendence right from Shaz to keep everybody up, but the Riptire doesn't really care for that, right? You have Neko also with Whole Hog in supercharger, Valkyrie here as well. Boston in a very good position to complete this map.
Final fight coming up, it may well be. Neko coming forward now. Transcendence used by the Gladiators. They're trying to dig their heels and try to hold their ground somehow. Gamsu's supercharger is removed by Hydration, but that's a Riptire into Sure4. That's got to be a Resurrect now by Big Goose, so they're in deep trouble, and it is. Sure4 now is returned to the battle. A stay of execution, a second lease on this one, and Hydration's Riptire thinning out the herd. Neko and Note are down, and Sure4 chimes in, and the Gladiators hold on for now.
We'll see if Boston decides to switch up here. You know, you could just go to your Winston Tracer at the end. Neko switches off of Roadhog, he'll go to Zen. So you'll already have one change. Maybe you give it one more attempt here. The Riptire is so good in these close quarter areas that you get a Riptire, right? If Strikers end up getting 2, you're kind of home free.
Shaz can't save his teammates from a good Riptire. That's the most crucial thing. Now with Neko just switching over to the Zenyatta, Shaz is going to be ahead. He's going to have his next Transcendence. He just saw one on the point. He'll have his next Transcendence before Neko, most likely.
You're kind of playing for the fight after, though, where you will have Trans in Valkyrie when the other team only has Transcendence.
Crucial D-suit there. Sure4 peeking around the corner, and Note couldn't do anything. He got ejected out of his mech into the explosion itself, and there's Shaz. 3 kills for the Zenyatta. The Los Angeles Gladiators, beautiful. It's damn hard to find an enemy Mercy as that Zen, but Shaz is sharp as they come.
Now the Gladiators putting together a very good defense here.
Look at this man.
Look at Shaz. Now Neko and Shaz, 2 of the more underrated Zenyatas we have in the Overwatch League. Both of these guys put down a ton of damage. Fisher will play Winston, so to put a little bit more pressure on the mistakes. That's going to be a tire that gets nothing.
That's not ideal. That fizzles. I mean, Hydration drove it down a straight stretch towards the Boston Uprising. There's always a risk in doing that.
Here's the fight that's huge, Mitch. You could use Valkyrie here, Valkyrie and Tire, and not feel that bad, because you would switch off of this Junkrat, you would go Tracer, and then you have another fight where you have Transcendence, and they have nothing. 2 big kills there.
You can't stop the Riptide with a Transcendence, and that's Big Goose removed from the fight. Shaz, yes, he's giving healing to his team, but it actually amounts to very little at the end of the day. Gamsu leaps forward onto the payload, and Bishu is out of position right now. He can't protect himself with that defense matrix, and he'll be removed as soon as he ejects. Now, Matt, they're approaching this final point.
They played it perfect, and now your win condition is great. You have a self-destruct to clear the payload. You also have a Transcendence. Boston getting very close to completing the map. Fisher does have Primal Rage, though.
He's going to have to use it now. Let's see if Fisher can live up to his title. Who is better than Fisher? It's going to be a Transcendence on the point. Neko got his first Transcendence for the round now after switching to Roadhog, and it's timely indeed. Shaz is down. Neko pops out a Transcendence and decides to get a little bit angrier there. Gamsu drops in. Shore4 removed. Fisher trying to escape. No, but he was going to pursue him doggedly to his demise. DC'd on Bishu, and he's done. The Riptire now just an insurance policy. And Boston go up one map early.
Such a tough position for the tanks there at the end for the Gladiators, because Gamsu and Note jump right by them. They're going to put pressure on the people in the respawn. The tanks can't go peel for the Gladiators because they have to stay and contest the cart, or else the cart would have just went rolling on through. Didn't have a really great chance there on defense towards the end. A very good offensive attack early, though, gets destroyed by Boston's defense late.
Mistakes ending up getting more final blows than Shore4 by the end of the map there, and staying on the jump craft for the final stage. Worked out for the Boston Uprising. The 2K Riptire from Striker was important. Map 2, this best of 5, ladies and gentlemen, is right around the corner. Do not go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever.
Well, we don't have a warm-up tomorrow, so we wanted to pick an easy opponent, picking LA Gladiators.
All right, you heard it from Hawk. Anything you want to say to that?
See you tomorrow.
Now it's a matter of Los Angeles Gladiators battling back.
Short 4, a man possessed. Boston undefeated throughout the stage. Can
Can they defeat the undefeated?
Boston, you can't bet against them. They are the favorites coming into this game.
It's a battle of David versus Goliath here.
Welcome back, Blizzard Arena, and everyone at home watching. My name is Zoe, and as per usual, I got to chat to the teams prior to this match. And I asked the Gladiators if it came as a surprise to them that the Boston Uprising decided to choose their team as their first opponent here in the playoffs. And Hydration and Big Goose both said, actually not really. It was kind of expected. Hydration called it the most logical decision based on their current map score. So they saw it coming and they prepared accordingly. So they're coming into today with confidence and with a game plan. On the other side, for Boston Uprising, No told me that before the Gladiators even qualified, they already had their eyes on them. So they knew they're going to choose the Gladiators. And so far, it's been working out great for the Boston Uprising. We're ready for map number 2. So we're heading back over to our Pastel Dream Duo.
That's
a bit
much
nicer
better.
than Dumb and Dumber, right? I mean, I had
Much
someone
nicer.
say my hair looked like Marge Simpson, which I think I'm going to take as a compliment. It's not blue. I get it.
It's all right.
I didn't get it right. Huck said that, you know, his team wanted a warm-up.
I love it.
They're already
Love
looking
it.
red hot out there. Mistake.
Yeah.
I have never seen this level of performance from Mistakes before a Widowmaker. This is astonishing. 15k damage to Surefour's what? 9?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you look at the damage per 10 minutes, Mistakes doing about 4,000 more damage per 10 minutes. Finished with 30% of overall team damage, more than Striker who played Junkrat for that entire game. Asher comes in for hydration, so that tells you they want to have this Tracer the entire time to chase Striker around.
Now, we've seen a little bit less of Asher this season, and in fact, Matt, he's the only player on the Gladiators with, like, I guess, a negative map win rate, which at 41%. The rest of them obviously looking pretty good in that regard. So we have seen bits and pieces of him. Obviously, he's brought in that Tracer. He's got to stand up against Striker. That is a big task for a player, especially who hasn't got a heck of a lot of game time this season.
Yeah,
stage,
the Tracers we've seen that have been successful against Striker have not really opted into those 1v1 duels, head on. They've just kind of put some pressure on him and then just like lingered in that area, in that space, and just kind of just pushed him away. Just keep him far away, from the back line. But you see the Gladiators Tracer player dies 23% more often when they play the Boston Uprising.
Is that just Asher? I suppose Surefour played a bit as well.
Yeah, you've seen, maybe they played, thinking back to the match. No, they didn't play Silk Thread, but just Asher and Surefour.
We're out of the gates here. Boston Uprising in the blue. And it will be Mistakes at the 4 with this Widowmaker, which so far has been about as sharp as a surgeon's scalpel. We're going up against Surefour again. Now, that's the question, right? Is this the kind of player who will, brazenly opt into the 1v1 against Surefour, or just put pressure on the rest of the Gladiators? Put pressure on the healers to try and, make up for the health that they're losing elsewhere. That is what we want to find out right now.
Well, he doesn't necessarily need to go and hunt Surefour. If he's just putting down a ton of damage on the point, Surefour needs to come out of position to get him, right? So if he can just keep peppering these tanks like he was doing, Boston will take the point first.
Passive approach from the Gladiators here. They don't try and contest, but Surefour has found Mistakes. Now, that'll be a Kellex Resurrect, if I've ever seen one. But in the meantime, the Gladiators are trying to apply some more pressure, but they've lost Bishu's mech in the process. A little bit of mobility, a little bit of burst out the window. And Note's found Asher as well. Somehow he's got himself tangled up with a Diva mech and removed. Mistakes, though, down for a second time running.
Yeah, but they'll just play the point here, Boston. You just have Striker just kind of dart back and forth. Just waiting for another pick from Surefour. Yep, there it is. Get it on the Gumps.
It's always like you knew it was going to happen, Matt.
Yeah.
In the absence of Mistakes, Surefour is allowed to be unleashed to a degree, and he has an infrasight already. He pops it immediately. That information is important, so Surefour can see where Mistakes is coming back from, and Fisher now has been resurrected back into the point.
It's a lot of stall here, though, from Boston. You had Valkyrie and you have Transcendence. They get Fisher really low. He's forced to use Primal.
Oh, Striker!
Even if you lose this fight, though, you've accrued a decent amount of percentage.
That's the thing, right? Losing that first fight, or giving away the point first in some cases, is not ideal, considering how, at this level of play, it is possible to maintain control of the point when you have already lost the fight. Keep 1, 2 people on there. Just get that percentage continuing to tick up. The Gladiators spent a heck of a lot on winning that fight, and they come into it now 55% to 10.
And for Boston, you'll have your Primal Rage, you'll have your Infrasight. So you think with Infrasight, now you gain all this information and make sure for, I don't want to say like a non-factor in this fight, but it makes it very difficult for him to peek and get anything going against Mistakes. Let's see if Boston tries to take advantage of this infrasight, get a pick. They get Fisher weak, he's forced to jump on out.
Our mistakes turn him Fisher over there into Swiss cheese. Shots have been ringing in from the Widowmaker, but that's a good self-destruct removing note. A team effort there between Asher and Bishu to ensure there would be no opportunity to regain the mech. But Kellex has something to say about it. He's brought Note back, but Mistakes has gone down, so now Kellex can't bring his team sniper back.
Yeah, but now you're seeing Sureforce start to dominate, Mitch. There's 6 limbs, 5 final blows here.
Did you say that?
And he's just gonna get pushed out there by the Primal. They also force Transcendence here. So I know the Gladiators going to get a little bit more percentage here than Boston this fight, though.
Oh, Bishu. Oh, he's getting out of dodge. I don't think he's going to escape. No, the D-suit there, and he will just be welcomed into the warm embrace of Gamsu. Yeah, it's a bit of a tighter hug than he might have preferred, but you don't have a choice when it's a big old monkey. 65 to 56, so Gladiators now at least even the score, but they come back into a Boston Uprising squad with positioning advantage and the Valkyrie ready to rock.
But here's where you get into a dangerous position, because both teams will end up using Valkyrie. That extends the fight. You know, just by the nature of more healing, right? Everybody just being topped up on the point. You're already at 70%. Both teams use Valkyrie. We're looking like 85%. This could be like the final fight when it's all said and done for the Gladiators.
This Fisher getting pounded by Mistakes. A lot of pressure from the Boston Widow to try and shut down arguably the centerpiece of the Gladiators lineup. Their star player in Fisher. Keep him low. He can't play as aggressive. You see Fisher jumps in over the top there. That goes down, and this time Mistakes finally wins out the battle against Sureforce. Surely a good omen for the Boston Uprising in this fight with Bishu now removed. Sureforce return to the fray, but here's Striker. That pulse bomb is going to be very important. Fisher might have his name on it right now, but Fisher didn't get away. Mistakes hit him in the head. Fisher didn't turn away. He didn't do a butt dive, and so he copped a full damage headshot from Mistakes, and that's a huge pulse bomb. Striker can't ask for any more than that. Getting the Mercy and the Widow in one go. The round was already done by that point, but my God, this guy.
To be honest, the round was done when we were at about 85%, and it's Mistakes who takes out Sureforce to kick things off. When he wins that first battle, that pretty much is ball game for me.
Mistakes, I mean, this is incredible. And we saw Fisher try and jump on him. Yeah, headshot. Discord orb there. Notice that Neko left his signature with the use of that, and Shaz on the way down. This guy.
So Boston right now going into our next point. It'll be Lighthouse. You know, it looks like Sureforce will play McCree.
Not a Widow-friendly map, by the way.
No, not a Widow-friendly map. They don't really love to play Genji. Okay, so I thought Mistakes was hovering over Sombra for a second. He's a very good Sombra player. I think Boston's going to play some Sombra throughout the rest of this day. I think that hero is going to come into play for them at some point. Not right now, though.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a showdown at noon, Matt. The two McCrees. Again, McCree, a hero you need to protect very well. Does not have the mobility to avoid dives, and even dealing with Tracer sometimes, if he doesn't have a flash, is a big challenge. Mistakes right now is just going to keep Bishu honest. A couple of shots across the breach. Both teams are set up these fairly well-defended positions now. Notice that Kellex is pocketing Mistakes right now, so he's definitely being catered to by his team. But look at that. Fish is trying to get in the back line here. Kellex is down, and no, Mistakes is going to follow. He's a one-man army, and that's no joke. Fisher goes in and gets two of the most important heroes on the side of Boston to start it off.
Yeah, they had Fisher and Asher put some pressure up on the high ground, and they're able to take the point here early. So Gamsu and Note went up, and they tried to put some pressure on the Sureforce. It was just a pretty good defensive hold up there. The difference is Bishu stayed up with the McCree and the supports. Note went in on that dive.
Shaz now preparing a few more salvos. Eventually, the Gladiators will have to drop to this point. Boston are forcing their hand. They want the Gladiators to come to them. See Fisher taking a lot of poke as he tried to approach them. Didn't quite get as far as he would have liked. See that now Bishu's very important right now. He's trying to keep the point alive, but no, he lingers a little bit too long and the damage was too much. Perhaps he overestimated, or under, actually. He's removed, and Mistakes gets the dead-eye kill on Fisher. And that'll be a very quiet Gladiators slinking back to their lair.
And the only reason that Boston can play like that, Mitch, is because you can allow a striker to move onto the point solo against two players. I mean, they had Asher and Fisher there for a decent period of time, but Striker just kind of contests it for a while. They can't really deal with him, and then it forces more players down, and that's exactly the fight that Boston wanted. They wanted to fight on the point. They didn't want to fight this long-distance battle.
Striker's pulse bomb once again. Going to be the key to victory in this fight. Just a little bit too deep, realizes he can't get past the big body of Bishu, has to recall. There it is, Sureforce take it down, and Fisher, always seen him ride the lightning like that a few times before. He makes sure Neko gets a burial at sea. And now Striker, so parting gift for Bishu is going to ensure that D-suit, the self-destruct. No one being found by that one as Shaz is brought back into the fight. The Gladiators are still very much in this one. Mistakes finds Fisher, but the Transcendence on the point to allow Bishu now to do most of the damage. Gamsu can't really hold up in the heat. Fisher getting up in his face, and those autocannons really hurt at close range. But Shawfall's removed Kellex now. That McCree for the Gladiators starting to pay off. Finds his opposite number, but Neko actually shuts him down. What a turnaround now. It's going to be Asher trying to stay alive, but the Discord Orb made it hard. Striker gives him a slap to the back of the head. Sends him reeling.
Yeah, you look at this Tracer matchup right now. Asher is 10 elims, 3 final blows, 5 deaths. You have Striker at 18 eliminations, 7 final blows, only 1 death. So the things that Striker is doing on Tracer right now.
I mean, I didn't know we were legally allowed to show that kind of thing.
It was also, Bishu's been playing very good for the Gladiators. You saw a really nice self-destruct there to clear the point. That allowed Big Goose to resurrect Shaz, who had the Transcendence. So it's a nice use of the self-destruct there to just clear space.
Talk about it all the time, don't we? That's some space cleared. The space that Gamsu used to occupy is definitely empty for the time being. He's back to spawn now, but Asher's looking worse to wear on the point. We'll need to benefit from some healing from Big Goose, but there it is, the pulse bomb. Asher falls foul of that one. It's always a bit shameful, you know, as a Tracer dying to an enemy Tracer's pulse bomb. That's how you get in your opponent's head. And Boston Uprising have got the download on the Gladiators thus far. It's a quick 2 maps. Smug City for Boston. Oh, Gamsu, no one doesn't like him.
It's incredible how, throughout the stage, even the later part of stage 2 when Boston was playing really well, then into this, they have looked so good, but we all consider them underdogs. We all talk about maybe an upset. They are putting on a show here today against the Gladiators. These first 2 maps have been dominant.
This is the Uprising. We're going to need to see if they're going to take down New York in the final, but that's a complete other story. One last chance for the Gladiators to hold the Uprising at bay, otherwise it's all going to be over. We're hoping for a shields up in a long series. We'll be back after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone. The Boston Uprising looking very smart with their opponent pick so far. They lead 2-0 at the half over the Los Angeles Gladiators. Welcome back, everybody. We're here in semifinal number 1, live from the Blizzard Arena. It's Puckett. We got the boys. We got a new champion, it looks like, here at the desk.
All right, mate, trust, you're dropping out all over the place. You
on
suck at being the champion.
I know, it's a pity, you know, talent doesn't often go alongside showmanship. You may have the showmanship, but we all know where the talent is. It's on the Boston Uprising, clearly. They're 2-0 up at the half. They're destroying them.
All right.
Bren, you're not looking very smart yet, but you still could in the second half. LA, they need to win 3 straight, though. This is tough. Let's look back at how we got here, because this was a fantastic start for the Gladiators. You were rolling with short 4 picking off the Mercy. It was all the Bastion as Shaz just paved the way to the final point.
I'm pretty sure that was the first shot that Short took, and it could not have been any better. They roll into point B, crazy self-destructs from Bishu. You're thinking, boy, the Gladiators have got so much momentum. Boston Uprising, they're never going to be able to stop them. But that crisp headshot, double headshot from Neko onto Big Goose slowed down the momentum, and they were able to just rinse and repeat the Boston Uprising. Just took all of the wind out of the Gladiator sails.
This was crazy because there was like 4 minutes left for the Gladiators to finish point C. Boston holding so strong, and then Bren, once this game continued, you saw the striker start coming into effect as he switched off of the Junkrat. His traits are really shining.
So one of the win conditions we always give teams when they're playing against Boston Uprising is to focus down striker. But it wasn't even his tracer that was the problem in this match. In fact, it was his Junkrat that was causing these clutch plays to happen. There were so many moments in this game where there was big tire kills that really set them up to success. And Boston, they did a lovely job, honestly, of stabilizing, because I could tell, I think both of us were saying as well as this game was going on, both of these teams seemed uncomfortable towards us as it was going on.
You could see the pressure was hitting them.
Absolutely see the pressure was hitting them. People were missing shots, they were making silly mistakes, they were letting the payload just roll through and let it snowball to the final checkpoint.
But also so many big plays as well.
Exactly.
So many weird big plays contrasted with mistakes that you would normally see from players. And in the end, the Boston Uprising have the better mental game, I think.
Round 2
versus Fissure has been fun to watch here in the first half. Boston able to close it out with the Primal Rage and shutting everyone down coming out of spawn. But I think the biggest battle that we wanted to highlight here was between the Widowmakers, because as Bren said, you looked at the numbers coming into today, they were all in favor of Shore4, but on that first map, Stanislav Danislav coming out and crushing his way on the first map.
He destroyed me, didn't he? My entire point that was set up was Gladiators, they got the better Widowmaker player, but Mistakes had an absolute ridiculous game. He did a tremendous amount more hero damage than Shore4 in the match, and he really set the pace of it for them on Junkertown. As I said, Striker definitely played a big part of it with his Junkrat, but it was really a lot of his Widowmaker play was absolutely sublime.
This was the best part of the game for me. Kellic versus Big Goose in the one-on-one Mercy battle, but really you looked at Ilios, we started on Ruins. It all started with the snipes, mistakes popping off, but Striker getting insane work done on the ground.
He really did, and the Boston Uprising, fantastic on control. And that was a bit of a question mark coming into the playoffs, because normally we have 2 control maps in those those normal 4-map series that we have. And now we have 2 escort maps. Classically, kind of the worst game type for Boston, even though they're not that bad. At Junkertown, they're still pretty decent at. But it's a possibility for a slip-up. But here they're showing us, as soon as they go to control, they're taking all the opportunities given to them. Easy 2-0 up at the half, you've got to say, from the Boston Uprising. They are dismantling the Gladiators.
You got to slow down Striker right now if you're the Los Angeles Gladiators. And taking a look at the map pool, I have to ask, Josh, who do you expect to be shining here? Boston needs just 1 more. Gladiators need 3 left.
Over the course of the Overwatch League, Boston Uprising have only lost Anubis once. That was to the London Spitfire. It was a crazy good game from them. I think this is going to be a 3-0, but if the Gladiators are able somehow, some way to claw their way back on Anubis, they actually have a decent chance on the next 2 maps. I mean, they have only won Route 66 once, but it's not a great map for Boston either. So it's a map that either team could clutch in the moment. So I think they have to be able to win this final map, obviously, otherwise they're going to get 3-0'd. But then there's a slight possibility of a reverse sweep if they're able to.
Brent, I have to ask you, you made all these people in the audience very, very happy with your initial prediction.
The false hope.
Is the classic Brennan flip-flop happening here at halftime, or are you staying with your Gladiators pick?
I gotta say, the classic Bren trademark flip-flop is not gonna be happening today. I am sticking with Gladiators. I am sticking with the crowd.
You're a fool.
I am not a fool, Josh. You are a fool. You will be losing this match, mate. Trust me. I reckon Gladiators are gonna do it, but no, I agree with you. It's a hard road for them. It's gonna be tough, but Gladiators, they take it on Anubis. It is very likely gonna be going all the way to that map 5.
Brent still has faith. Everyone else sees Boston powering their way to the finals. We'll find out if they can close it out. Anubis is coming up next when we return.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.
Now there's going to be that additional pressure here to stand up and get the job done.
You really see teams pushing each other to a higher level.
How do you continue this momentum right now?
It's like a marathon, you know, you got to be ready to go the distance.
When people talk about history, I want to be in that discussion.
It is something that takes an incredible amount of skill to be the best at.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Boston Uprising are making good on calling out the LA Gladiators since they're currently up 2-0. Now, I must say, that last match, I got a little lost. I was watching our Tracer player, Striker, do his thing on the Boston Uprising, and I'm just kind of sitting there mesmerized by just how solid he is. He knows the right pockets to sit in. And I thought to myself, sometimes I get so lost in watching Striker perform that I forget how coordinated the Boston Uprising really are. And it really reminds you that that's what this game is about. It's about teamwork. It's about being coordinated. I don't think there's any other team that has been this coordinated and this fundamentally sound as the Boston Uprising. This should certainly make anybody who's a fan of competitive Overwatch warm on the inside. Anyways, guys, Boston Uprising, they are one game away from getting to the Stage 3 finals. Can the LA Gladiators bring this thing back? Let's find out right now and send it over to our casters, Uber and Mr. X.
I love that Malik points this out.
Yeah.
This is the perfect segue. Thank you, Malik, for that. And he's dead right. Raw frag potential, raw mechanical skill is very important. But Matt, the coordination of the Boston Uprising is something we were just looking at in detail.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have both, that's great, right? When you have players like Mistakes and Striker, so mechanically talented, and then the coordination comes through with everybody else, it's going to be very difficult to beat. Towards the end on Ilios, it was a really interesting play that just kind of developed. So you take a look at this from the minimap POV. So this is usually what I watch. So the pulse bomb goes down on a Gamsu, and then you see the Gladiators, they just kind of decide like, okay, like let's push forward. Fissure wants to get aggressive. Nobody deals with Striker. Striker gets the D-Mech on Nabishu, and then Fissure gets weak, so he has to back out. What happens? They all end up grouping up. They res Gamsu anyway. And they just kind of like, it wasn't almost like a bait-in, right? But they wanted to dive in after getting that first pick to deny the res. Nobody went with Fissure there. They just kind of, he jumped in, got really weak, and then he has to jump back out. Bishu's already D-mech'd, and then at that point, the game is lost because Gamsu gets res anyway.
You could see just how ready the Gladiators were to try and capitalize on the fact that Gamsu was down, but in doing so, they overextended. And they kind of allowed Striker into the point. Hydration is back. The Gladiators fans have been thirsty for a map win. This is your man. It's got to be now or never, though, Matt. This is the shot.
So, Anubis is a very good map for the Uprising. 4-1. The one loss to the London Spitfire. And we know the dive that London can bring on a map like this. You have Prophet, who's just incredible on so many different heroes. Primarily the Genji. Sometimes we have seen the Gladiators get a little lost on the offensive side here, where they get players stuck behind and they're starting to flank or whatnot. You can't let that happen here. You have to put together, if the Widowmaker comes out for Boston, which it looks like it does, the Orisa as well, do you even play Widow at the start here? Or do you just try and play a dive?
That is the question.
Yeah.
I think if you're Mistakes and you've been feeling so good about playing that Widowmaker, you've got Gamsu to sort of be protected by and strike a consistent damage output, you're definitely not going to mess about, right? For the Boston Uprising, this is still a very important map to win, I figure, right?
Yeah.
But because if we go to the next map, the LA Gladiators could potentially take this to map 5. Because the next Blizzard World is in this pool.
Yeah, they're not
make it there. The Gladiators have had an exceptional Blizzard World record so far. That would be where they can really get to the Uprising. But now, to do that, they have to be the Uprising on one of their best maps. Temple of Anubis, and here come the Gladiators. It is last chance saloon for the boys in purple and white.
Yeah, right away they switch. So they see the Orisa, they know the Widowmaker. They're going to have Surefour play Tracer here. Hydration on Genji. Let's see if they can coordinate this. The Hydration is a very good windmare here for the Gladiators. It'll be Shazza gets picked. This will get Riz though, so not too big of a deal. You'll get him through the choke.
It was a Holtz, of course, used there by Gamsu to pull Shaz back out of the tunnel and allow them to get that kill. So Mistakes now knows he'll be dealing with a Genji and a Tracer. So if he does get leapt upon, he'll need to be very, very quick in getting across to safety. On the high ground, still controlled by the Boston Uprising. Bishu's taking a bunch of damage. They've managed to pick Neko off. That's the start they're looking for. But losing Big Goose definitely doesn't help them at all. No resurrect potential now for the Gladiators. And Striker's just staying alive. Look at Mistakes. The tandem, the 1-2 punch. Oh, man. Mistakes just bore and hold through skulls.
Cheeky from the Boston Uprising. They have Mistakes set up on that high ground, and the Gladiators, the Widowmaker is so often set up here. They jump up on top of there, and who's there? It's Striker getting damage boosted by Calyx. It's not the person they wanted to jump on. Then the crossfire from Mistakes happening. They almost made it happen.
That could have gone either way for Boston as well, man. They lost Neko quite early on in the piece. Now having the Zenyatta means you can't charge up your Transcendence throughout the fight, which is a big missed opportunity. But there you go, Striker finds Fissure. That's a dangerous spot to go for a resurrect. Now you'll see the Boston Uprising posture more aggressively around that part of the map, just to make sure that there's no doubt that with Big Goose to come forward, he will be taken down himself.
Yeah, once you lose Bishu, you can't even try. And the Mistakes continuing this stellar Widowmaker play. The 56% scoped accuracy here on Anubis. We saw it on Junkertown, and you're like, all right, they have more tanks in the mix, right? A lot easier to hit these shots, but The crit accuracy isn't that high, always floating around 15%, but still just landing shots.
That's a big headshot as well. Laying Bishu low, an early D-suit. You better believe it. Short for double pulse bomb though, there's an opening, so it's a 1-for-1 essentially. Bishu's still alive, but he doesn't have anything to work with. Hydration, deflect, but it runs out. Mistakes finds the perfect opening to remove the Genji from the mix, and Fisher can't survive on the point. Big Goose does bring Hydration back, and there might be swift vengeance now as he has a Dragon Blade to work with. Here's the Transcendence to back it up. It's go time for the Gladiators. They're trying to find Striker. They've got him.
Yeah, but they're forced to use the Transcendence and move on in, and Bishu doesn't even have a mech. They're just trying to use it to keep him alive.
Striker?
And Striker is still alive here in the back.
Are
He
you
picked up
kidding me?
3.
That's unbelievable!
Make it
The
4.
Gladiators use the Transcendence just to try and get to him. Striker was being chased by 3 people and kills them all. Shorefall was the first one to go. He followed him too close. Striker just went into the close quarters rooms. He knew he had the advantage there, and now he's just starting to make Shorefall feel bad, man.
That is a all or nothing fight.
I think
for the Gladiators there.
Gladiators can be full held here quite easily.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, when you use both of those support ults, right, and you try and push in, that is a, we are going for it here, and after that, it's well, let's try and make something happen. That's kind of how you feel. I mean, now, mistakes, you have a Gamsu switch over to Winston, probably did that just to make it back, but now you'll be able to kind of counter dive when they jump up onto that high ground, protect mistakes a little bit. You have your Transcendence, and you have a Riptire. You're going to have a self-destruct as well, so a lot of good ultimates here for Boston.
Gamsu's a little bit low on health right now. He's currently being healed. Striker could just break this one right open here and now. Striker's dead, so this Riptide is the only thing that will last him. Couple seconds left. He didn't really get much with that one. That could be dangerous now. That Riptide had to be impactful in this fight. Mistakes jumped upon here by a primal range Fisher. But he's quite low on health. Getting that healing back now on the Transcendence on the point. The Boston Uprising now have to stand and deliver. They take the fight here and now. Shaz is down. Gamsu found him. What a big picket. Big Goose is right behind him. Hydration now pulling the Dragon Blade. This could be the savior. It's him or nothing right now. And no, it's not going to be enough. He will be cut down. Bishi removed. Now Shorefall, he's not for this world. And Fisher, it's just Fisher. And there's nothing else left for the Gladiators. They will be full held here on the first point. And the Uprising look imperious.
Not even a tick.
You can hear the hush.
Yeah.
You can hear the hush now as Boston have issued the final, what maybe will be the final challenge of this series now. All they need to do is capture point A, Matt. In fact, all they need is 1/3 of point A to end this series. What a crashing victory for them. And this is Striker being chased by literally everyone. You can see the wireframe of them. But they get caught up. Gamsu dropping in, Matt. And then Striker just gets to, you know, find his own way out. The space got created on Hydration. Just got minced.
But when you use both support ultimates and you pressure that hard, you need to get the kills. It's because they never really got a chance after that. I mean, Big Goose and Shaz both die at about 91% towards their support ultimates. You put the game in a really rough spot. It probably wouldn't have even been that close towards the end if Striker, when he was running the Riptire, I saw Big Goose where their little health pack was. He was hiding in the corner in the dark, just missed him. If he blows the tire up there, kills him, Shaz is on the point basically alone, that would have been over even faster. And the Gladiators going to need a tremendous hold here on defense. As Boston, though, they have been very impressive today, Mitch. Only 5 deaths as a team there in the first half. I mean, mistakes with none.
Let's not even forget this would be their 15th series win.
In a row, yeah.
Just astonishing. Oh man, you know, it's so funny. We all had Boston down the bottom of our tier lists before the Overwatch League started, all of us. And I think this is a great testament, and this is what really made me believe in coaching in Overwatch as well. It's a testament just to the strength of the coaching staff at Boston. They've been able to develop this team that actually works. It's not just kids playing video games, man. It is, you know, something you can coach, something you can refine and train.
And I just love Hawk's attitude towards it, right? Because they come in here today, the entire crowd is chanting for Los Angeles, right? It's you kind of look at it as like a hostile environment, right, for the Boston Uprising, but you know, some teams rally around that. I used to love it as a player and a coach, like when the crowd would be against us. It's just something that brings everybody together. Like the only thing you can rally around is each other. And it's great. I feel like Boston is really loving the fact that, you know, they're playing here in LA against LA, and they have all that pressure on them.
I mean, even the biggest diehard fans, either LA team, can't deny it. Just how incredible this team is, you know, developed Now, not going great to start with, though, for the Boston Uprising, in all fairness. They've not really done much about this setup. I mean, the Gladiators must hold here. They need to get something done.
This next fight, though, is the one that they're going to need to win. So that one is one where Boston just jumps in. They just pretty much die. That's all they have. It's okay. So the Gladiators have done a really nice job. They've kept track of who they've killed. They know that Striker is up on that top right high ground. They still have not dealt with him, though. So he's used his recall to get back. Striker's going to attack here now.
Neko blown to smithereens. A good start to the fight there, and Shore4 gets a cheeky dome on towards Striker now. That may force his recall out. The Gladiators are throwing a lot at the Uprising, but it is sticking. That's the most important part. Kellex won't be getting out this time. A very heavily targeted Mercy player in general, Kellex, simply because the rest of Boston Uprising are almost too fast to find.
They're going to know that the Striker is back here once they use the infrasight. He's back now by the spawn. So you can see his POV.
All right, Striker. Work on your spots while you're there, I suppose. He'll be just biding his time.
All it takes is him to double blink onto that bridge and put pressure on the Shaz, and they're in trouble.
He's immediately spotted out.
Yeah.
The infrasight now for Shore4, giving him an early warning system. He may not have known Striker was actually lingering behind his backline. And yes, this is a switch up here.
He has to go far here because you can't risk having Striker just come in and one-clip you, so you have to play at that distance.
It's safer. It doesn't give him any sight of like, the front door, but this is just him making the right choice. They've lost Gamsu. Fish is down though, and Gamsu's been brought back, so it's a numbers advantage for the Boston Uprising now. It's a 6v5. It's going to get nasty. Riptide hydration. It's the Hail Mary. There's got to be something here. And no, he doesn't even get Striker. He blinks away. Deftly avoids certain death from the explosion of the Riptire. Mistakes was trapped for a short time, and now the Dragonblade just to try and cut through some of this extra damage. Fisher, well, he had his supercharger removed now. They're back to normal in terms of the damage output. Mistakes is cutting them up there. Sushi Chef extraordinaire. Gamsu's Primal Rage at 3. And that'll be it. There's not much that the Gladiators can really do about this one. The Boston Uprising stand tall, and they're not done yet. Series is over, and the Uprising will be in our Stage 3 finals.
That was dominant. If you are New York or the Los Angeles Valiant, you just watched that match and you're definitely scared a little bit to go up against this Boston team later. They are clicking on all cylinders, taking out a very good Gladiators team here early.
Just from strength to strength. We were surprised by them in Stage 1, impressed in Stage 2, in awe now in Stage 3 of a team that just doesn't seem to know when to stop. And the Uprising will again face their biggest challenge of the stage up against New York if they manage to win against the Valiant, should I say, in that next match. Still much to be decided today. Hey, big thank you from me and Matt for joining us over the course of the season. We're done for Stage 3. We're going to go open a candy shop, and we'll see you in Stage 4, guys. Love each other.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
The damage available. And Boyer has so much ability to be able to just get away from players like Linkser on the Tracer. Now getting very close, building up the ult, and there it is.
Oh, okay, the coalescence coming out here. Jaehong's just giving the Houston Outlaws a good hosing down. Oh, they're clean indeed. But that push from Seoul was nothing but dirty.
Welcome back, one and all. This is Zoe, and I'm joined by Mistakes from the Boston Uprising. Please, once more, put your hands together for him and his team. A 3-0 against the Gladiators. Now, all right, Huck gave us some spice yesterday, but did you guys really think it's going to be that easy?
I think our team felt like it's going to be a good warm-up, you know, before finals. So, yeah.
All right, there you have it, the warm-up. And that means that you will be facing either the Valiant or NYXL in the finals. Which teams do you not want to meet?
NYXL, I guess.
And why is that?
I think they're the best team right now. Even though we beat them, I think they're like really strong, and it will be a hard match for us.
All right, well, we're going to find out in just a bit who will be your opponent in the finals. Congratulations to you and your team. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, Pocket, please take it away and lead us through the game we just saw.
Thank you so much, Zoe, the Russian assassin. Give it up for Mistakes, getting the job done tonight on Widowmaker, as it's all Boston here in this series. And Josh, for the first time ever, we see a 3-0 in a playoff match.
Yeah, it was an easy warm-up, like they were saying for the finals. That's so spicy from Mistakes. I love that, just cold, clean, clinical. Yeah, it was just an easy warm-up.
Yeah, but still respect for his opponent coming up here first. And before we get to the games, I want to give a special shout out. We got two guys down on the floor. They've been yelling, "Rise up," while the rest of the audience yells, "Sit down." Their team's still in it. Rise up, boys.
They're going to be needed a security escort, I think, after this.
I love it. Brett, walk us through game 3. What did we see in Anubis? Because this one was not close.
I mean, blink and you'll miss it, to be honest. It was a very quick game from Boston. And I said, you know, Gladiators, they might be able to do it. But Boston really showed us why they are currently undefeated in Stage 3. They did not let up in the slightest. Mistakes. One man we have to highlight, because I personally said coming into this that he would be at a disadvantage when it came to the Widowmaker versus Widowmaker matchup against Surefour, but he absolutely dominated across the entire series.
He has stepped up his game massively. You know, came in pretty recently, only a couple of weeks ago, didn't have much practice on a lot of these heroes, just was thrown straight in. But he's the kind of guy that can pick up a hero pretty quickly and then becomes great at it. And his Widowmaker and his Genji are starting to get to this kind of star level that, honestly, the rest of the team are already starting. If you put Mistakes and he's stepping up to that kind of level, who is going to beat the Boston Uprising? As Malik was saying, their teamwork's so excellent, but they also have the individual skill to be able to push them to the next level as that X factor.
It was so amazing watching Boston in this warm-up match. It's the semi-final against the Gladiators, and they just crushed their opponent. The hardest part for us here is every match, we have to crown a player of the match sponsored by Omen by HP. There's been a lot of discussion. Is it Mistakes? Is it Gamsu? Is it Neko the healer? No, it's Striker. This man had one death. One death in map 2 and map 3.
Yeah, ridiculous. 2 deaths in the final 2 maps is honestly crazy. Ilios, he was uncontested. Asher was avoiding him in the 1v1s, decided to focus on the tank battles instead, and that opened the way for Striker to just absolutely dominate on both of these maps. He's been just, I mean, this is what you expect from him.
Yeah, it is. And look at this as well. He just dodges that. He only had 1 death on that map. The tire comes towards him. He backs off so that the hydration with the tire has it, and then just blinks away.
What is that stat?
3/4 of his pulse bombs were attached.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. You know, normally that's down at like 40%, something like that. You would expect 50 to be kind of amazing. But Striker, we saw the stat earlier. He focuses tanks a lot. But when he's uncontested, he can do what he wants. He just kills everybody.
I love this first series from Boston. What is the strength to look at for this team moving forward? They're going to play either our next 2 teams, New York Excelsior or the LA Valiant, for the title match.
That's such a difficult question, Puckett, because you cannot pinpoint this team down to just one element that they're good at. They're good at team play. They've got the individual skill as well. Now we're seeing Mistakes step up. He's the guy who I always thought was the weakest link on his team. Now, again, the question remains, is they seem unstoppable. Can anyone stop this squad moving forward? They are utterly unreal.
All right, well, we see our first LA team fall, but coming up next, we got the favorites. It's the New York XL, who you just heard Mistakes say is the best team in the league, taking on the hometown squad. Any Valiant fans out there? Make some noise, because your team's on the stage when we return.